This is Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special celebrating Black History Month. And we're doing so by interviewing folks from the Black history community within the AV industry. And with me is my old buddy, Mr. William Brown. Welcome, sir.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you, man. You were from IamWilliamBrown.com. You and I have gone back at least 10 years, and I've watched you evolve from an AV standpoint over those 10 years.
Yeah.
So take a moment and kind of give folks an idea of where you're at, but also kind of how you got here in the industry.
Right. Wow. For a long time, I felt that I didn't know what AV was, and then that's who I was, right? I was AV.
You
right?
were AV.
Right. And then it took a number of years for me to be William Brown, right? to really take myself back, but realize that AV is something that I enjoy and something that I want to participate in and add value to. And so it started off as really, just a job, right? Is something that I thought I was going to be in broadcast news. And then it was like, yeah, that's crazy. Hey, let's just go do AV. I don't know what that is. It's like, you'll like it. You'll be in hotels. You'll be traveling around in business meetings. You'll meet some really impressive leaders from around the country. You'll be able to do it. And it's like, it's all true. Yeah. But that life, defined me. And there was a lot of things that I missed, right, within my family, for myself, because I wanted to be the best AV professional that I could be, it was well, right. There was a lot of success until there wasn't, and during that time when I wasn't being successful in that, that's when I really asked myself the question, who am I? And from that question, it got me to where I am of, being a self-awareness coach and inviting people to just get aware of themselves. And from that, you can show up in anything because everything is possible now. So I'm AV and I'm not AV. And so that's where I am.
And so that's where, and you and I have gone on for different things. I've had you on AV Week a number of times. Mm-hmm. You've had me on your program. Now you've had a new one with Jeff Day, the Mindful Minute, and having both AV folks and non-AV folks on that program as well.
Right.
And I watched your journey, and just as a man and as a human being, you and I's journey are a lot similar in the fact that, I got into meditation a number of years ago, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's something I said publicly. It's just part of what kind of my morning routine,
right?
And it's helped me, and I've watched it help you, right? And the whole mindfulness and such. Right. And so kind of as we're talking about this and talking about your journey, both from, kind of your evolution in AV as well as your evolution in the mindfulness practice, talk for a moment about, your experiences as a man, but also as a Black man in the industry and some of those hurdles that you faced and the way you were able to overcome them.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting that I felt that it mattered that I was a Black guy, and it didn't matter, right?
Yeah. What does that mean?
What that means is that some roles or some responsibilities, some interfacing with customers, I didn't get able to do because I was a Black guy, right? Because I was one, it's like, you can handle the tech stuff, but we'll handle all the other, the high pressured negotiations and all that other things. And so, but, let's just say if there was, a successful, Black person, their group was coming in, I was front and center and let them know that, I was in charge for the week. And hey, we got our guy here to make sure that, everything is great. And it's like, I accepted those opportunities, but there was an awareness that I was, dare I say, marginalized, right? And not seeing a lot of very smart, committed people of color overlooked in our industry, because there was this feeling that that certain clients wouldn't appreciate them, or wouldn't understand the quote unquote color, of how things will get done. And so I felt I didn't make it mean anything, because, I was just Bill, I came in every day, wanted to do the best that I could, felt that I was successful because of that. And every once in a while, when I didn't see myself, or felt that there was someone that was less talented, or something that was in control, it's like, what, that was less headaches, right? That I had to deal with. That was my AV mind, right? It's like, that's one less thing that I have to deal with. But the more that I embrace, I guess, my value, where I saw that I would show up, and that I was okay with saying with someone that say, what, I understand how you may feel that our client might not understand or appreciate me being in charge in a situation. But that kind of makes me feel like I'm not important around here. So I just want you to know that. And so when I was able to speak up in some of those situations, then I wasn't the only one in the room, but I was in the room.
Yeah.
But before, when I wouldn't say anything, I wasn't in the room at all. So it was that fine line in that dance that feel like, okay, I can make a difference. This has nothing to do with me being Black, but it does. And so really kind of, depending on who I was working with and who was, my manager or anything, that how they would handle my response to how it would work out.
What was your sense of was there a common thread on how people responded to you, and with some of those assertions? Was it, whether your boss or the person in charge, if they were a person of color, or if they were, what was there a common theme there where, regardless, you were either not listened to, or you were, depending on the makeup of the person? Or is it just, kind of depends on more the background of the person?
I think the common thread was, I would say, the level of importance. So if somebody would say that, hey, this is a big bank that's that's coming in, and this they do $100,000 of business, at the hotel here. Do I want to put Bill in charge, the face of this? The common thread was the money, right? They knew the technical skills that I had. They knew that, the commitment, that, the 7 a.m. Call time, and the 1 a.m. At night striking stuff. They knew that wasn't in question, but it was, who is going to be the face that, if we can gain this amount of money or lose this amount of money? And I think that was the common thread. And I would hate to say this, that sometimes when I was in charge, there was a feeling that they can afford to lose that business. We really didn't want this business anyway, so let's let him handle that. And maybe that was the case, or maybe that was a story that I put because of sometimes that I was around.
When you face challenges, and one of the things that I've learned through this process is figuring out that there are choices that we all have when
Hmm.
it comes to obstacles. And when you face obstacles of racism, there's a choice there. You can
Right.
choose to try to overcome it. You can choose to try to educate your coworkers, your employers, or you can choose to just to go a different route altogether.
Right.
Um, that choice is yours. It's personal.
Right.
There is no right or wrong answer there. So
Hmm.
the question is when you chose to overcome, why did you choose to fight and to try to overcome those hurdles?
I think it was my kids.
Okay.
It was because I was missing my family because I was growing. I mean, you know, AV has been very good to me, right? Right. I was like, growing family and everything. Um, but I felt that at some point it had to be worth something. I had to kind of stand up at points, and I wanted them to say that, you know what, that basketball game that I miss, or that thing that I wasn't there, it was because I was standing up. I wasn't just working myself to exhaustion in some places, but there was something that I felt that I was making a difference. And I just wanted to be able to tell my son and tell my daughters that, yeah, I'm doing this for a reason. And those were the times where I just like, you know what? I'm going to say something,
Yeah.
because right now I just feel like I'm a cog in the wheel here, and I just can't. This is not worth the cog in the wheel. I'm giving up too much for this.
Talk for a second about young people coming into this industry and young people of color. What advice would you give them as they start their journey?
Hmm. I think because I've asked this question before for myself. It's like, if my son or my daughter wanted to go into AV, what would I say? And there were many years I says, absolutely not, run away, don't do that, because
Run
here,
away, run
right, you're
away.
right, because of the cost, and because this is what I would say when I had a staff in AV, and then I'll come back and answer your question directly. One of my opening lines for the new hires, I would say that once you kind of embrace the fact that when the technology works, people will question why you're around here. Why I hired you. Hey, we got all this stuff working here. Why do I need you? And when the technology doesn't work, they'll question why they have you around here. Once you reconcile both of those realities, then you can work here, right? Then you
Yeah.
can really kind of do this. And so, there are some people that says, yeah, I don't want to work in that environment. I don't want to work in that environment. But for me, I I would say that there is um, AV, the industry of AV, I believe it's a reflection of our country.
Mhm.
And in the, there's an old school. There is this is what we had to do to really be around. We are a long way from, the stacked slide projectors, right? Multimedia slide projectors, right? But we're not that far away. You know, it's like when you look at the experience of African Americans in this country, it's a long, hard, difficult history, but it hasn't been that long. And so there's a lot of places within our industry that we feel that we've come a long way, and almost the technology has forced us to come a long way, but there's a lot of still mindsets or ways of doing things that is not caught up with the technology, because we're trying to hold on to what's worked. I don't want to say the good old days or something, but the nostalgia of working in the industry. And I think if we're able to show up as ourselves, show up as and have a level of respect and appreciation for technology and serving people, because a large part of AV is making other people look good, right? If you're okay with that, and you understand that moving parts break, right? And you might be called to help, kind of make it happen. And some days you may think you understand how it happens, and you'll have no idea, how it happens. And then you would be a part of that. And so I think it's everything, as I say, that it mirrors our society, the United States. That the idea of AV is great, but sometimes it doesn't show up that way. And the more that we kind of are willing to work with it and be a part of it, and sometimes get frustrated with it, then we could have, a happy AV life.
I love that. Sometimes it doesn't show up that way. As we end up here, Bill, and I mentioned the fact that you've had an evolution the entire time that I've known you. You are nowhere near retirement, and I don't say that to be mean, but you're not. You're not that old. But look back at your retirement party. Look back on your career. What do you want your impact to be on this industry?
I know there's a contribution, right? There's a feeling that those days of, taping down, cables with a tie on and getting the tie caught under this and ruining suits and the knees of my suits, that it's worth it. There was someone who honored what people were trying to communicate, what technology was available to help people be successful, and putting out their message. And it was an example of, you don't need to know everything, but you can know at least one thing and do that very well, and make a difference.
I like that. William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. How do people get a hold of you? How do they watch your podcast and the Mindful Minute?
Yeah, there's I try to make it easy for people. IamWilliamBrown.com. I Am William Brown will get you on Facebook, and only on Twitter, where the other William Brown took the O. So it's like I am William Brown without the O on Twitter. For the One Word Conversations podcast, I'm on YouTube at Disconnect to Connect Conversations page, and that's also a page on the Facebook page. But the Mindful Minute, currently that's just shows up on LinkedIn, and we have plans to put it in a lot of other places. And so we do meetings, we do interviews probably every other week, and we kind of put them together and try to get something out at least twice a month. So just look for it. Connect with me on LinkedIn at I Am William on LinkedIn, and you'll see the Mindful Minutes that we put out.
All right, very good. I Am William Brown. Thank you so much, sir, for AVNation. Go by our website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find programs like this and a host of others, including our 2 weeklies, looking at the residential side of the AV Week at Resi Week and the commercial side with AV Week. All that and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv.